All right, so let's talk about distributive property a little bit more. So there's two types of forms when we're dealing with distributive property. There's expanded form, which is when you go from what we talked about in the last presentation, where you have a number outside of parentheses and then two terms that are either being added or subtracted inside of parentheses, and you distribute that number. So when you distribute it, in this example, I have 2 times 3 plus 4. If I want to expand this expression, I'm going to take the number on the outside and distribute it to each one. So the expanded form looks like 2 times 3 plus 2 times 4. It's basically what you're doing before you get the answer. Okay? And you can do the exact opposite if I went from the right side to the left side to get the factored form. So, that being said, let's look at a few examples. So let's say that I want you to put 6 times 3 plus 7 in expanded form. Okay? Remember, this right now is in factored form. I want this to go into expanded form. So the expanded form basically says, take the number on the outside, distribute into each term. So that means I take 6 times 3, and I take 6 times 7. Okay? Now, if I do that, I'm done with what I wanted to accomplish. This is the expanded form. Okay. Now, expanded form is not the final answer, obviously. That's a different form. We'll talk about it later. Don't worry about that now. Okay, I just want you to be able to go from factored form to expanded form and vice versa. Okay. You should be able to go the opposite direction as well. Let's look at an example. Let's say that I had 5 times 8 minus 5 times 2. And I told you that I want this in factored form. So right now, this is already in expanded form. When you expand something, you lengthen it, right? I want to factor it, which means I want to make it shorter. So when I'm doing this, I'm going to look for one main thing. Well, what does each side of this subtraction symbol have in common? What is my common number? What was distributed inside of parentheses? Good. They both have a 5. So the 5 is the number on the outside of parentheses. And then the 8 is inside. There's a subtraction symbol and then a 2. So now we're in factored form. Okay, so now we did the exact opposite. We went from expanded to factored. So what happens here? I'm going to give you a few problems. I want you to figure out how to go from one to the other. I'm not going to tell you what form they're in. I want you to be able to figure out what form they're in already. So try these out, figure out how to go from expanded form to factored or factored to expanded. Pause the video and we'll go over it in just a second. All right, now that you're back, let's look at these answers. So number 1, what do they both have in common? They have a 7. So the 7 is the number that goes outside of parentheses that got distributed to the 10 and the 12. Well, what operation is between the 10 and the 12? It's addition. And we're done. What about number 2? Is this an expanded form or factored form? It's already in factored form. So now we have to do one step further, go into distributive property, and do the expanded form. We do 8 times 5 minus 8 times 2. And we're done. Okay, remember my only instructions were to go from expanded form to factored form or factored form to expanded form. Okay, nothing more. Now the last one, what do these two have in common? Good, they each have a 3. Okay, that means the 3 is the number that goes outside of the parentheses. And then we've got 901 minus 500. And an easy way to check to see if we put it in factored form correctly is to actually expand this. Well, if I use the distributive property, it's 3 times 901, which is what this says, minus 3 times 500, which is exactly what the expanded form says. So we did this right. If you have any questions, let me know. That's it for this video.